Our Father God, again, we come to say thanks, oh Heavenly Father, for all the blessings that you have stored upon us, oh, through our homes and in our city, throughout this country, oh Heavenly Father. Oh Heavenly Father, we ask you to look up on this special day for the things that happen across this country, oh Heavenly Father, that you kept us strong, you kept us together, oh Heavenly Father. Oh Heavenly Father, we continue to ask you to guide our city commission, guide our country, oh Heavenly Father, in the right way. Again, oh Heavenly Father, we just thank you for all the wonderful blessings that we receive through your grace and your mercy, for Christ's sake, amen.
Amen. Would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. The next item is a public hearing for the tentative millage rate for the 2019 tax roll. The time is 5:33 Central Time, and this public hearing is open. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak? At this time, I would entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 2019-09-297, the tentative millage rate.
So moved.
Second.
So there's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion from the commission regarding this tentative millage rate?
Yes, Mayor. I just want to double check and make sure that we are right where we were the last meeting, 3.9. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
And Mayor, if we could have a adoption and reading, Ms. Gaynor will need to read that resolution.
Actually, the notes that I have in front of me say something different than that, Mr. Attorney. And they're written in your handwriting. There's been a motion for the adoption of the reading. There's the first and second, further commission discussion, and then I have public discussion, then a vote on the resolution, and if passed, then I have that she reads the resolution. Is that correct?
That is correct, but we've got to vote for the reading and adoption. Every resolution will have a reading and adoption.
Ms. Gaynor, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution number 2019-09-297, a resolution of the City of Lynn Haven of Bay County, Florida, adopting the tentative levying of an ad valorem taxes for Bay County for fiscal year 2019-2020, providing for effective date. Whereas the City of Lynn Haven of Bay County, Florida on September 11th adopted fiscal year tentative millage rates following a public hearing as required by Florida Statute 200.6065. Whereas the City of Lynn Haven of Bay County, Florida held a public hearing as required by Florida Statute 200.065. And whereas the gross taxable value for operating purposes not exempt from taxation with Bay County has been certified by the county property appraiser to the City of Lynn Haven as $1,018,968,297. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City of Lynn Haven of Bay County, Florida, that the ad valorem property tax millage rate for municipal purposes to be levied on the taxable property within the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, during the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2019, and ending September 30, 2020, is hereby set at the rate of 3.9 mils. The percentage by which the millage rate to be levied is less than the rollback rate of 4.379 mils. Computed pursuant to the Florida law is 10.94%. This resolution shall be effective October 1st.
To make sure that I'm following the correct procedures, because this is such an important item, we can now vote without a further motion. Is that correct?
My understanding was your previous motion was for adoption and reading. So you've already adopted and reading. You've already adopted and had the reading now. So we can move forward to the next item under public hearing.
The tentative general fund, enterprise fund budgets and disaster recovery fund budget for fiscal year.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any public comments about the tentative general fund, the enterprise fund budgets, and disaster recovery fund budget for fiscal year 2019-2020? There appear to be no public comments.
Adoption and reading if the commission so inclined. We need a motion for it.
So moved. Second.
There's been a motion and a second for the adoption and reading, and now we will do the reading. Is that correct?
I would call for a vote if there's no other comments.
Is there a vote or a motion? Is there a vote to approve? So here we go. Mrs. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
You're up.
So this public hearing,
Ms. Gaynor's up.
Ms.
now.
Gaynor now will read the resolution. This is in such opposite direction of what we have.
Resolution number 2019-09-298, a resolution of the City of Lynn Haven of Bay County, Florida, adopting the tentative budget for fiscal year 2019-2020, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Ms. Gaynor. And this public hearing is now closed at 5:38 Central Time. And now we start another one. This public hearing is opening at 5:38 Central Time. This is the tentative Community Redevelopment Agency budget for fiscal year 2019-2020. Are there any public comments regarding this budget? There appear to be none. Is there a motion to adopt Resolution 2019-09-299, tentative CRA budget for fiscal year 2019-2020?
So moved.
Second.
There can only be 1 second.
Commissioner Tender.
Thank you. There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion or questions from the board? There appear to be none. Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes. Would you please read the resolution?
A resolution of the City of Lynn Haven of Bay County, Florida, adopting the tentative Community Redevelopment Agency budget for fiscal year 2019-2020, providing for effective date.
Thank you. This public hearing is closed at 5:39 Central Time. Thank you, Mr. Albritton. I would have never gotten through that without your help and your notes. Item number 5, this will be the mayor's report. This has been a particularly unbusy couple of weeks for me as far as attending events. Today was a very special event that we had in the city, and I would just like to thank all the city staff who worked so hard to make sure that we gave the appropriate dignity to this day. I would also like to take this opportunity to publicly thank all the members of the Lynn Haven city employees, staff, administrators, particularly Ms. Gaynor, and with great honor, I would like to thank our fire chief, Chief DeLonge, our chief of police, Ricky Ramey, all of their men and women who work with them. Also, our former police chief, Matt Reamer, for all that they did through our disaster over the past months. And it's an honor to be associated with all of you, and I know that all of us in this room feel that way. We know that now firsthand, we have seen the face of disaster. We have seen firsthand what it is like to be devastated. And we know that we can depend on our first responders to take care of our city because you did it well, you did it better than anyone else, and we're proud to know all of you. So thank you very much. And that would conclude my mayor's report. Commissioner Tender.
Thank you, Mayor. And over the past couple of weeks, I've just been fielding a multitude of residents' issues. And I think we've pretty much resolved all of them one by one. So I will continue to do that. And I made a comment this week. I really enjoy being a commissioner because it allows me to help the residents. So I welcome them at any time to call me, find me, email me, whatever. And I will drive Ms. Gaynor crazy, but but we're getting issues taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Tender. Commissioner Russell?
Thank you, Mayor. I too, it's been a quiet couple of weeks. I've obviously met with Acting City Manager Gaynor on the budget and some other issues, and I appreciate her help and clarification on some issues. I also want to thank Chief Ramey if he's here. I think all y'all are aware of the traffic issues we've had at Mosley and at Bayhaven, and I think Chief Ramey took the bull by the horns, and I think he got the traffic situation maybe partially resolved at Mosley, and Mosley stepping up and letting the parents use some of the parking, which, kudos for him for getting Mr. Bullock to handle that. And of course, I've been getting phone calls about Bayhaven's traffic issues in the last couple of days, and came up to City Hall and had already found out that Chief Ramey had already talked to Chris Forehand, and they're working on the solution to that. So I appreciate them being proactive, and hopefully we can resolve that issue and make the residents happy and make the parents where they're not getting tickets, and which nobody wants a ticket, obviously. But other than that, everything's been going good for the last 2 weeks. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Yes, the last couple of weeks, we've been, working like we always do to help the citizens. I know that the traffic issues is something that we have been working on between the two schools. I know we've been working with some other organizations with FEMA reimbursement money, trying to get extra money out of FEMA. If that comes through, it could be really good for all of us. So, I'd like to thank, of course, every city employee for everything they do. I'm seeing, the more I'm in this position and the further we get away from the storm, the more I'm seeing fluidity, the more I'm starting to see staff catch up, and starting to handle some of these situations that arise quickly instead of it taking a long time. So that's very encouraging for me. And it should be encouraging for the citizens as well to know that the employees of the city are working diligently to make sure that we're getting our times, correctly. So anyway, thank all of you, and we'll continue to work hard.
Thank you, Commissioner Perno?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to echo your sentiments about today. It was very special to be in Sheffield Park and to look forward and see our city employees on a day of remembrance. And what you said was that they don't look for any kudos or anything, but they're a force, and they stood to the back, and it was just a lot of pride that came over me when you mentioned that, and I saw all of our city people out there under the tree, and then to turn around and look behind me and see our men in uniform, our policemen and our firemen on a day of remembrance like today. It was very, very special, and I was glad to be a part of it. And I want to thank each and every member of our city employees and the people who go out and serve us every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Perno. Item number 7 is our acting city manager's report. Ms. Gaynor.
Thank you, Mayor. What an appropriate time today to recognize some of our employees. First, I would like the Employee of the Month, and I'd like to call up Chief Ramey to come up.
Thank you. I have a special way that I do this. I actually let the officers vote for Employee of the Month, and I had a tie. So I'd like Officer Corey Wilds to come up. He was nominated by his peers. And then I have one that I will not put on camera that's in here that's been doing great work with DEA and the task force and doing a lot of undercover work. And they've moved forward with several cases. So they're standing out. But Officer Wilds, I got multiple compliments on you over the last 60 days, and your activity level is off the chain. And I just want to tell you how much we appreciate you getting out there daily and combating what we deal with every day, above and beyond. Thank you.
As you should. I can have you turn the plaque around just so I can see it. Yeah, you can hold it up. Be proud of it.
Take it out of the bag. Must be somebody from Bobby's department.
And now we have what's called our Department of the Quarter. We used to do what we said was a supervisor of the quarter. And then the leadership, our department heads got to thinking, well, you know what? They're the supervisor of the quarter because of the people who work. And so we thought that we would change this to the Department of the Quarter. And this month's Department of the Quarter is Public Works. These are the folks that work really hard for you, especially when it rains and their phones are ringing off the hook. You lose your garbage can. You need a tree removed. All of those things the Public Works Department does. And we're going to ask Bobby Baker to come up and speak a little bit about his guys. And we just thought it would be appropriate if all of them came up. And we did say this was something we were going to do a little different this year, where we recognize departments and give them kudos. I think it's just a great thing to do.
Well, I think most of them are here today. I think they're still out in the hallway. You guys want to come in?
Everybody come up and kind of make a circle right here.
If they stand in front of the commission, they'll be on camera, which will be great so that everybody at home could see them. Stand in front of us, please. It'll be awesome. Across the front.
I really can't say enough about these guys. I have to work with them every day. They're a great group of guys. They don't complain. They do everything you ask them to do. So what you're seeing is these crew is the street, stormwater, and sanitation division. And there are a few that didn't make it tonight, but I appreciate all they do and the hard work they do in this heat and in the storms. And I just can't say enough good about them. And I just want to tell them myself, I appreciate everything you guys do. Thank you very much.
So you asked with this entire department, what do we do for them? Lunch is on us. We take this and they decide where they want to have lunch, and it's their lunch, and they celebrate their successes. And we say thank you to the entire Public Works Department. It's a privilege and an honor to work with these guys and girls. Bring in a couple of pictures. Everybody can get in so we can get a couple of pictures. Some of you can go to the front.
Panorama view, yeah.
Thank you.
I know, just noticed my pants.
Thank you, Public Works Department. You're amazing.
Thank you. To continue the city manager's report, just been meeting with all of the commissioners these past couple of weeks on the budget. We spent countless hours on this budget, both night and day, trying to get it to a point that we can present to you all and the commission. So kudos to, again, the staff for their help in pulling this budget together. There were a lot of things that they wanted, and they'll tell you they didn't get. And I think even some of them told them that they had to get back before Vicky cut stuff out of their budget. And I did. But we know we have to be mindful and conservative, but I thank the staff for all of their hard work as well. Also, just a couple of other things that we've been working on. We talked about last week some lights in certain areas, and I think I mentioned it to you in my budget workshop, but that's coming along really, really great. Thank Joe Footen and his department making this happen for us. This is a road to recovery. Anytime you see anything new, this is a road to recovery. We had a Universal come out last week to scope out the senior center, and they're going to get started on that fairly quickly. So we're excited about that. We have some renovations that are going to be going on in the service center. We've already hung up the drywall, and we're choosing now flooring and painting. And so there's some things that you won't see and then you will see, but we are on our road to recovery. And just to mention to you, anytime that we do things internally, this saves us money, but we still get reimbursed for it. Next, we also want to make sure that you know about the arborists that we had to come from Tetra Tech. In the city, there are a lot of leaning trees. These trees are considered unsafe and unfit, and they're dead. And so we did have an arborist to come in, and that arborist identified over 100 trees that needed to be taken out. And so you will be seeing that go on as well, taking out some of these trees that are near some of your homes and near the highways and roads that we want to keep Lynn Haven safe in every sense as they continue to work on the waterways. And Mayor, the last thing I will say, did I mention we worked on budget too? No, yeah, but thank you very much for all of your help.
Thank you so much to everyone. Item number 8 is the city attorney's report. And before I ask him for his report, you do know that I was joking when I tore up your notes. Adam Albritton has served this city in a capacity much like law enforcement since the storm. And I will tell you that in the weeks following the storm, he didn't bill us for very much. He just hung out. He distributed supplies. He gave advice. He sat at the table with us, and he is also a hero in my opinion. So, Adam.
Well, Mayor, it's hard to follow up on that, but I do appreciate the kind words. I'll work on my communication skills for our resolutions. We'll get it down. With that said, I do have one quick item. Ultimately, the commission, as it pertains to the city manager selection process, ultimately, I turned over the background checks to Chief Ramey. Chief Ramey's notified me, now this has been a few weeks, has notified me that not everyone has responded back to a questionnaire submitted by the Lynn Haven Police Department. So what I'd ask is this commission approving a motion which would contemplate that if an individual has not responded to that questionnaire from the Lynn Haven Police Department by 5 p.m. on Friday, that those persons automatically be removed from consideration. It's been well over 2 weeks, moving close to a month at this point, so we should have a response by Friday, or if not, then their interest level should not, would be indicated that they're not appropriate for Lynn Haven.
Gentlemen, and ladies, is there a motion or?
Second.
So there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any from the public? Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes. Moving on then to, was that all of your report? I'm sorry.
That was, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 9 is public commentary. This is an opportunity for anyone from the public to address the commission about anything that pertains to Lynn Haven City business. You may also have an opportunity to speak to any of the items which are left on the agenda. So is there anyone who has something you'd like to bring before the board tonight? Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
I'm Ted Roberts. So there's a stop sign that's been put on Colorado Avenue at 10th Street, which I don't know why it's there because the police, I'm not going to say the police chief, but several police officers that I've spoken to said that people don't speed down Colorado. And so I just want to know why that traffic. So it's a I'm not going to self-incriminate, but I want to know so about the
Sure.
Colorado stop sign at 10th Street.
Mr. Roberts, we put in place 2 years ago a traffic committee made up of the police department and a member of the staff and public works, that when residents would complain about speeding or other traffic issues in their neighborhoods, that their neighborhoods could be looked at by this committee. And when I first became mayor, this was something that I really pushed for because of the speeding on many of the streets in Lynn Haven, and finally found backup for those thoughts with our present police chief and the traffic division. And so they did have many complaints. They also did a traffic study out on Colorado and found that there were people doing in excess, I believe, of 50 miles an hour down that street. Yes, and yes. And so they deemed that it would be appropriate to put a stop sign there. And while there may be some who are not happy about it, we've had many compliments that it has helped because people were concerned for their children's safety. So that's the answer to that question. I'm not sure if it's the answer you wanted, but that's it.
It's not the answer I wanted, but
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else? Mr. Miller?
Leon Miller, 1508 Mississippi Avenue. I've been noticing here lately that 17th Street is getting to be the shortcut for a lot of people getting around. 17th Street now is beginning to get real bumpy. And I'd like for the city to look at it and think about getting it paved and put some lights up there at nighttime. Because we got all those new apartments coming in and they're coming in fast. Well, I'd like for you to take that on your agenda and look at it, please.
We appreciate that, Mr. Miller. Is there anyone else? Yes, come on up.
My name is Michael Karch. I'm East 24th Street. Calling and I'm up here to talk about number 13 on the list there.
If you could wait until we get to that item, if it's a particular one, and I'll give you that opportunity then. Is that okay? Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes.
I'm sorry again. I have to ask about, I would like to.
You're fine. Go ahead.
I would like to take the opportunity to ask if I can help with the library.
Yes, you can.
I will wear gas mask or face masks or whatever, but I would like to help out with the library. And,
May I put you in touch with Ben Janke, who is sort of spearheading that, and he can talk to you after the meeting and help you to see how to do that. We appreciate your volunteer spirit. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to address anything this evening? Okay, then we will move on to item number 10, which is the consent agenda. These are the minutes from the regular meeting of August 27th, 2019. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
There's been a motion to approve and a second by a very enthusiastic commission. Is there any discussion of those minutes? There appears to be none. Any from the public? There appears to be none. Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes, so the minutes stand approved. There is no old business, so we move to new business, item number 11. Discussion and possible approval of ordinance number 1080, providing tax abatement for ACMT South LLC for 10 years. Before we look at that, read that ordinance, Mr. Janke, did you have a report you'd like to give? Thank you.
So city staff received an application regarding a tax abatement from ACMT South. This is an economic incentive the city offers to any new business that comes to Lynn Haven or any existing business that has plans to expand their operations. And because of the expansion, will create a certain number of new high-quality jobs. This tax abatement is basically a temporary reduction or elimination of property taxes. So we're talking about the ad valorem taxes that you see on your trim notice. If you're a property owner, there's a certain portion that goes to the city of Lynn Haven. There are certain requirements associated with this incentive. That business has to create at least 10 new jobs, high quality jobs. So the business has to be in a certain business segment, whether it's advanced manufacturing, certain production type businesses. The application process is fairly simple. Business would have to submit an application to the city, and if the city decides to approve this application, the city commission would have to vote on an ordinance, which is part of this agenda packet today. This tax abatement only applies to improvements into real property, intangible personal property. It will not be applied to the value of the land. So there's still a portion of the ad valorem taxes that the property, that the owner would still have to pay to the city, although you would, assuming that you would approve this tax abatement. The duration is for 10 years. ACMT South is requesting to start this tax abatement in 2020, and it would sunset in 2029. The property appraiser will follow up on this tax abatement on an annual basis. So they will make sure that the improvements that the company promised to put in place actually were put in place. It will be assessed. And right now, at this moment, the property appraiser is estimating these improvements to generate an ad valorem tax revenue of about $64,000 per year. So that is basically the reduction that the city would face should you approve this tax abatement.
Thank you. At this time, Ms. Gaynor, could you read ordinance number 1080?
An ordinance of Lynn Haven, Florida, entitled an ordinance granting a ad valorem tax exemption to ACM South LLC for its real property and improvements thereon, and for associated personal property is herein defined as a new business pursuant to the Florida statutes, providing an annual certification of company, providing for revocation, severability, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Is there a motion for discussion and possible approval of this?
I'll make a motion for discussion.
Thank you.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for discussion. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. If you may, Mayor.
Yes.
You said they're required to produce 10 jobs?
At least 10 jobs.
At least 10 jobs. But now the paperwork shows that they're saying they're going to produce 105 jobs with an average wage of $43,000 per job.
That is correct.
Yeah. But, and who follows up to make sure they produce those jobs? Is the property appraiser actually going to verify they've produced the jobs?
Actually, the property owner is required to submit a certification letter once a year to the city, certifying how many jobs have been created from the year that this tax abatement was established.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner
Mayor, if I may.
Tender, you had a question?
Oh, yeah. No, I don't have a question. Well, I do have a question. I feel extremely strong about this, and I've discussed this with Ben. I feel in lieu of the fact that just last commission meeting, we raised our water and sewer rates on our residents, how could we possibly even consider giving these people a 10-year abatement on taxes? They paid $2 million for this building, bought it in place. We had a hurricane. We even went out and cleaned the property for them. And now they're looking for a 10-year tax a cut, so to speak. And I can't even imagine this, the timing is way off. I would think if I were going to spend $2 million on a building or a business, I would go to the city long before I bought the property to see what kind of arrangements I could make, so to speak. 10 years just seems like an enormously long time. And I think it's something that they should have asked for a long time ago. And based on, and I know you should never base on who owns something, but I feel like this family has probably an enormous amount of money. And I just don't feel like it's appropriate at all. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Tender.
If I may also.
Commissioner
just-
Aldridge?
Just to put this out there, it is a normal business practice for when corporations look at areas to ask for tax abatement. Because yes, there's a short-term upfront cost, but the long-term, recurring benefit of the employees that are going to be paying taxes and payroll taxes and taxes to the community and taxes to restaurants and everywhere else will probably multiply what we're losing 10, 20-fold, whatever. But, so I just want to point out, it is a normal business practice. This isn't something we're doing that's shady or weird.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I never would. Oh, I'm sorry.
Commissioner
Mayor.
Tender, go ahead.
Sorry. I'm not saying it's shady in any way. But I was certain that I heard a figure of 105 employees at one point, and now we're talking 10.
No, the Florida statute requires to generate at least 10 jobs.
Mhm.
ACMT South is committing to generate 105
Okay.
new jobs, I think within the next 5 years. I think there's in the agenda packet a schedule, how many jobs will be created in 2020 and so on.
Mayor,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Commissioner
can I
Russell?
just- oh,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to answer your question. They're creating 63 jobs by 2020, another 22 jobs by 2021, and another 20 jobs by 2022 for a total of 105 jobs.
Thank you. And I would assume, I'm sorry. am
No,
I
please go
outvoted?
ahead. Please go ahead.
And I would assume, since in our area, we have people begging and looking for jobs, that they're more than likely, I would hope, going to hire people that are already here, already paying taxes. And so, that benefit in itself. Yeah, that's all I have to say. I probably have a lot more to say, but I think you get the gist. of how I
That's
do it.
okay. Is there
Thank
further discussion from the board?
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, please go ahead.
Mr. Jenke, for the benefit of the board, has this commission ever done this before? Have we ever done a tax abatement before? I
Yes.
mean, not, but the commission, have they ever done an abatement
Yes,
before?
in the 1990s, there was I think a tax abatement done for the train company, Jensen USA. And I may add to this, so there's a certain due process. As a city, you can't just go ahead and offer a tax abatement to a company. There's a certain due process, and one of the items that have to be in place is actually this tax abatement would have to pass a referendum first before a city can offer an incentive like this. And this was actually done in 2011. It was on the ballot, I think in April of 2011, where this asking basically the Lynn Haven citizens if they would be in favor of a tax abatement for the next 10 years. It's good for 10 years, that question, or not. And over 67% of the residents that voted at that election voted in favor of it.
Mayor, if I may.
Please go ahead.
Mr. Jenkins, we've discussed this. I stopped by your office and we talked about this particular issue. You said there was a reason, the timing, had something to do with the hurricane and other reasons, the reason that they didn't present this at an earlier time.
It's my understanding that the city has been contacted several months ago with a request of a tax abatement. It was, this request was sent via email to the former city manager. And that's all the information I have.
Okay. Thank you, Ben, or Mr. Jenkins. Thank you, Mayor.
Is there further discussion from the board or questions?
Just,
Commissioner Perno?
just one thing to say, Ben, is there any way to word this different where we hold them to making that 105 jobs, not just adding 10 jobs per? And if it's not at 105 in 5 years, then they have to back pay?
Actually, if you take a look at the ordinance, there are some provisions that outline the way how to proceed if they do not meet our expectations by creating 105 jobs. So this incentive is really tied to generating these new jobs. If they don't perform, they will not get this tax abatement. So it can be, in simple terms, it can be canceled midway if they're not creating these jobs.
And if I may add also, Ben, it is correct if the business were to leave the community, and in other words, all these jobs went away, that if they had a lease on the building, if they had expenses and whatever, that even if they weren't present, that we would still have that opportunity to take back that.
Absolutely. This is a contract between the city and that company. We offer a certain reduction of taxes. In return, they have to produce a certain number of new high-quality jobs.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Yes, Commissioner Tender, go ahead.
I just want to ask one question. If we were to do this, I would think it would be crucial that we look into the stockholders of this company to see who's affiliated. And I know this sounds like I'm coming out of left field, but I would be extremely interested to know if Andrew Bales is in any way associated with this company based on its location.
Mayor, if I may,
Commissioner Russell?
in the packet, Ms. Tender, or Commissioner Tender, it lists the owners. Michael G. Polo is a 60% owner, and Paul S. Polo is the 40% owner. So that's the two owners of the company.
Is there any further discussion?
One more thing, Miss Mayor. Rob,
Commissioner
sorry.
Perno? No, this how we talk.
We're talking about $64,000 a year.
That is correct.
Okay.
This number was generated by the property appraiser's office.
Mm-hmm.
I was told that this number is a more conservative number, so it may be a little bit less for the first couple of years, but that's what they're estimating.
Are there any further questions?
May I just make one more statement? If you look at it that way, $64,000, and we are looking on the increase that we did last commission meeting on water to supposedly bring in 180,000, we'll just give half of it to this company. I mean, basically, that's what we're doing. That's a trade-off.
Well, this company's producing.
Commissioner Aldridge, did you wish to add? Go ahead.
This, I'm seeing it completely differently, I guess. I'm not seeing this as a cost or as an expense. Sometimes you have to spend money to make money, and they're going to be producing products, generating revenue that's going to be coming through Lynn Haven. I mean, it's almost, I don't see it as a pure expense. I think, like you guys are seeing it as just a loss of $64,000. It's not a loss of 64. It's an investment into something that's going to produce more dollars. It's the way I view it. So just put it out there.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, Commissioner Tender.
And then I'm going to be done. What kind of product did this company make? I thought it was some kind of aerodynamic something or other parts for. What do they do?
They produced advanced aeronautical parts. So in other words, if you need for Boeing 737 a new window or a certain bracket, a titanium bracket, they will be producing this. And this is just an example. I don't know if they're exactly doing this, but it's going to be a high quality parts that you need for the aviation industry.
And
So
Lynn
it's not-
Haven is not the, I'm sorry, Commissioner
No,
Tender. Lynn Haven is not the only location for their company. This is going to be a premier location. It's been almost a year since I spoke with them. I did meet with the two Polos and listen to their business plan. And there is, to concur in some part with Commissioner Aldridge, there is a formula. If you think about how taxes are paid and how strictly that we all are made to adhere to paying taxes, there is a formula in place with this statute that a certain number of people making a certain salary will spend a certain amount of money in a community, will pay a certain amount of taxes. It's just not an arbitrary figure that's been selected. So if you just think about how the government takes very special care to make sure we all pay our fair share. This formula is very carefully thought out, and it's not really a trade-off, but they're hoping that if the formula works the way it's set up, that this business will grow and prosper and provide jobs for our community members and possibly bring in more people to our community who will spend money here and pay taxes, et cetera, et cetera. So there is a formula in place. It's not just something that's just drawn arbitrarily. So, but with that said, is there further discussion from this board? Are there any comments from the public? Yes.
Janet Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. I fully back Commissioner Tinder. I don't think we should be funding this $64,000 for 10 years, $650,000 in total. And as far as what Commissioner Aldridge mentioned about these people coming to our community, there's no guarantee that they will be living in the city of Lynn Haven, hence paying Lynn Haven city taxes. They may be coming for gas. They may be coming to Victoria's Bite or Mr. Perno's restaurant to eat, but there's no definite guarantee they're going to be buying homes in Lynn Haven. So I feel strongly with Commissioner Tinder that we should not do this for those particular people.
Thank you. Is there another comment? Mr. Walker?
Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. I have 3 pages of study on this. The numbers just don't add up. First of all, the figure of $43,000 of salary, that's per hour. That's what's listed in that paper, per hour. That's wrong. Second of all,
So a typographical error, perhaps?
that's the usual
Okay,
answer I
okay.
get. I get that. And
It
but
happens.
that's
Okay, so
in-
your question. Okay, go
That's
ahead.
an official
Go ahead,
thing
sir.
in their application.
Go ahead,
Okay.
sir.
This is formerly the Honeywell property, okay?
Yes, sir.
It's been on our rolls since 1985. It's been paying taxes since 1985. No abatements, no nothing. Approved by the group that has the factories in that area to be there. All of a sudden now, they're coming in and they want, you're talking 60, I'll round it off, $65,000 a year. And they're guaranteeing supposedly the hiring of 105 within 3 years. That means that they don't need that abatement for 10. They just need it for 3. Okay, the numbers don't jive there. We are not losing taxes. They've already paid taxes for this year on it. So the number does not come at $65,000 as what Lynn Haven gets. We only get $37,000 in taxes coming to us. The rest of that taxes, is that the total taxes given to Bay County? Are they asking for that? Are they asking for the total, which is 60 some odd $1,000 for 10 years? Jobs created 63 first year, 2020. 22, 2021, 20, 2022, 105 total in 3 years.
Okay, Mr. Walker, if you could just state your opinion about whether we should or not, because we all have this information in our packet. We know everything you're saying to
Yes,
us.
but the
Just,
public
do you want us,
doesn't.
well, the public has the same opportunity to read it that you do, sir. I mean, you can get angry with me, but public commentary is to give your opinion about what this commission should do regarding this. If other people have those questions, they're free to ask them as well. So do you feel we should do it or not? That's what this is about.
Yeah, but my reasoning for should you do it or should you not? I happen to agree with Mrs. Timmer.
Perfect.
This total whole thing is $650,000 of taxes that they will not have to pay for their buildings. And there are 6 buildings on there. How do you know that in 1 year, they could rent out 5 of those buildings and make a profit? And we're paying the taxes for them. Who's going to take up the gap in the money between what they are getting from the citizens, like Mrs. Tinder said? We're in hard times. We normally would be getting those taxes. You're not going to get it. My point is this: if you approve $650,000 in 10 years for possibly 105 jobs, and then they pull out like you think, I don't think you're doing the right thing.
Thank you. That's what we wanted your opinion, sir. Thank you. Is there someone else who would like to give their opinion or speak? Thank you.
Question, Gloria Cutchins,
Yes.
1115 Kentucky Avenue. Is this a startup company or what's their history?
They already have a history as a corporation, and I really have not spoken with them, like I said, since way before the storm, probably a year ago. I just met them at a luncheon and listened to, what they've done in the past. They are a reputable company as far as I know. I mean, there are always things that you might not know, and I'm certainly not here to speak on their behalf. I'm just saying I did meet with them. I know that they have the desire to have a company and to bring jobs to Lynn Haven. That's what I know.
So they're moving their business from somewhere.
My understanding would be that they are expanding, that they're building a larger office here. They like it here. They think it's a good place because of our location, and they want to expand, was my understanding.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes, Commissioner Russell.
I just want to make a clarification. I mean, I'm looking at the packet here. There's only one building on the property that is under discussion. And I've pulled up the property appraiser's site for the property taxes. And according to the property appraiser, I'm not sure where they got 64,000. Their 2018 property taxes for the city of Lynn Haven was only $10,300. It wasn't 64. So it's actually a significant lower amount. Their proposed 2019 property taxes are only $5,000. So I think the 64 is a high number. Doesn't mean the abatement's only going to be what the taxes are. It's not, we got to pay them back. So if their property taxes are $5,000, we're going to abate them $5,000.
I think that's what Ben was saying
Yes,
a
ma'am.
few minutes
Yes.
ago. I'm just
I
not
just-
sure it was clear.
Yeah, I just
But-
want to make sure that Mr. Walker's numbers are, I want to make sure that everybody understands that the 64, I don't know where 6 buildings came from, and I don't know where his numbers are coming from, because
Ben,
I'm
would you like to-
looking at the numbers
And I'll
here.
come back to you, Mr. Walker.
The $10,000 that is mentioned on the trim notice from previous years is really the value of an abandoned building. It has been sitting vacant for many, many years. So the reason why we have such a drastic change to $64,000 is because this company is actually bringing in high-end equipment. They're renovating the structure of the building right now, which will change the property tax or the property value of this property, the value of this property. So that's the reason why we have this jump from 10,000 to an estimated $65,000 per year.
Thank you. Mr. Walker, did you have another question or comment? Or
May I approach Mr. Russell? This is the property appraiser website showing the 6 different buildings on the property.
you could give it to him. Go ahead. Go ahead. It's fine.
So you see 6?
Nope.
6 different buildings.
Thank you, ma'am. And did you want to say something else, Mr. Walker? If you'll approach the microphone, I'm sorry. If you'll approach, please, so that everyone can hear.
Okay, can be accepted. First topographical error, but you'll see the physical impact of the whole total package for 1 year, $64,000. If that's wrong, that's wrong. I just don't understand. The best way to look at it is look at a rewrite of this and say, okay, they're looking at 3 years for 105 jobs. They're asking for $64,000 total. Cut it to 3 years, not 10 years, and see how they make out.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Is there anyone else that'd like to address? Yes.
Nancy Brzezowski, 700 Iowa Avenue. This ballot that we talked about back in 2011, that the people voted more majority to allow.
That Mr. Jenke was presenting? Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead.
To allow tax abatements. That was in a different time, a different place, a different situation for many people who are still here and many of those that left. Is it possible to have a ballot again and let the citizens vote?
It's always possible to have another referendum.
It
It's
seems
a
like
process.
that might be a wise move. Thank you.
Mayor, if I may,
Commissioner Aldridge.
the way, again, I just, it scares me a little bit because the way the business world works is the same thing we saw with AOC in New York. Okay. It's the same thing. If we don't get aggressive with business in the climate that we're in the United States in 2019. I'm in it every day, waist deep. What's going to happen is the beach is going to come in, or Panama City, and they're going to give a tax abatement, and the business is going to go over there. And then we're all going to be going, man, why doesn't anybody come to Lynn Haven and start a business? You know, they're all going to the beach and they're all going to Panama. Well, it's because it's a very competitive market. People with these big businesses, this is a tiered supplier to an aerospace defense contractor that's already here. They're built-in business. They're built-in dollars, so to speak. It's not a startup where we're rolling the dice and taking a chance. These guys are bankrolling dollars now. So, you know, I just want everyone to understand that if we don't get aggressive in this climate that we're in, the others are, and they're going to take it. It's just the way it works. So,
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge. Anyone else from the board? Was there anyone else from the public who would like to speak to this? I think we've had a pretty spirited discussion. So we've had the motion, if I recall, that Commissioner Russell made was for discussion. So is there, do you want to add to the motion, or would someone else like to make a motion, or where are we at?
I'll amend my motion to accept.
So you
Mayor,
would,
Mayor, this would be for a first reading. This is an ordinance. So there'll be a first and second.
Can I?
again, my agenda does not reflect that.
Well, you could tear that up, but I wasn't responsible for it, Mayor.
Can I add to Commissioner Russell? Can I add?
Commissioner Perno would like to make another comment.
If we Commissioner Russell's made a motion, but
It's become sort of a moot point now
Yeah.
because it's just a first reading. So if with did you still want to,
We're
did
not
you have
voting
something
to
you,
change
no,
it a
we're
little
not,
bit or
having a
anything?
vote tonight. We're
Massage
just doing a first reading, although
Okay.
the agenda doesn't
I'll
reflect
second the
that.
motion.
So do I need to just withdraw my motion since there's no vote?
All we need is
actually-
a motion for first reading. It cannot be adopted until after the second reading.
Okay.
So I need a motion for a first reading.
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? Thank you. Any further discussion? Any from the public? Ms. Gaynor, would you please read ordinance 10? No, we already read it. So the first reading has taken place. Can we just, now what do we do? Just move on?
Well,
My lord, I'm an
that's-
expert on Robert's rules, and this is just an unbelievable turn of events every week. It's become Jeopardy.
That's why I believe we should have the readings after the motions, not before. So I would have just Ms. Gaynor read it one more time since now it's been approved. for
Thank
reading
you.
By the commission.
Thank you, sir. I'm starting to get the hang of it. Okay, so I need to read this. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. An ordinance of Lynn Haven, Florida, entitled an ordinance granting a ad valorem tax exemption to ACMT South LLC for its real property and improvements thereon, and for associated personal property as herein defined as a new business pursuant to the Florida statutes, providing for an annual certification of company, providing for revocation, severability, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you so much, and God bless us all. Number 12, discussion and possible approval of the sale of city property located at 801 Florida Avenue. Before we have a motion, did our Economic Development Director have a report? Thank you, Mr. Janke, the long-suffering Mr. Janke this evening.
So we re-advertised the sale of the property located at 801 Florida Avenue, also known as the old tag office or the old post office here in Lynn Haven. It's owned by the city, no longer needed for city operations. So we offered it for sale as is, and with the conditions that the purchaser will pay all closing costs, and that the buyer agrees to use the property either for office space, professional services, or retail use. We did receive 2 bids for this property, and I attached a summary sheet of the bids that have been submitted for this property. One bid was submitted by Summers Landing Assisted Living. I basically looked at 4 different components, the bid price, the signed bid sheet, whether or not the person that's interested in the property signed the bid sheet, if the earnest money was submitted, and if there was an executive summary submitted. Summers Landing Assisted Living offered $40,000.01 for this property. They did not sign the bid sheet. They submitted their earnest money, and they did not submit an executive summary. The second bidder is Audience of One Dance Studio. Their bid price is $85,000. They signed the bid sheet. They submitted the earnest money, and they also provided an executive summary along with their bid documents. So at this point, it's up to the city commission how you would prefer to proceed.
Thank you so much. Is there a motion for discussion and possible approval of this sale?
Mayor, I wholeheartedly make a motion to accept the Audience of One Dance Studios bid.
Second.
Second.
There's your answer. There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Is there any discussion from the audience? Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldrich,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes, and congratulations, Audience of One. We look forward to you. Happy dancing. Item number 13, discussion and possible approval of the Building Services RFP number 18/19-9 award to Gordon and Associates Inspections LLC. And Ms. Gaynor, do you have a report?
Yes. Mayor, we did send the RFP for building inspector out to bid. 2 bids came back, Gordon and Associates Inspections LLC and Charles Abbott Associates. I had a committee of 3, and they consisted of Joe Footen, Mike Brown, and David Horton. And the scores were as follows. Charles Abbott Associates, 217, and Gordon Associates Inspections, 286. The staff recommends that we go with Gordon Associates because they both followed the guidelines, but the committee also scored according to what we asked them.
Thank you. Is there a motion for discussion and possible approval of this RFP recommendation by the staff?
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Is there any from the audience? Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Sorry. I forgot it. Oh. Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldrich,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes. Congratulations, and thank you for all that you're doing for the city. And with that, we move to item number 14. Thank you all for coming. This meeting is adjourned.
I'm going to have